Hello there. Good day, good morning, good afternoon, good night, wherever you are. My name is Cyreta Laws-Frumau. I am a performance and mindset coach with the Proctor Gallagher Institute. And thank you for being on my channel. I am actually going through the book Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. We are on chapter 9. And I'm going through this book to hopefully inspire you to take action and move towards your dreams. Napoleon Hill wrote 13 success principles in this book, and he interviewed over 500 men and women who changed their lives and were able to impact not only their own lives, but the lives of others around them. Additionally, my mentor, the late Bob Proctor, who is the master teacher on human potential, he read this book for over 60 years, right up until his death in February this year. And it's a classic. It has sold over 15 million copies. And I'm really enjoying this, and I hope you will also join me as we take action towards living a better and a more fulfilled life. So we are on the chapter of persistence. We started the chapter in the last video, and we're going to finish the chapter in this video. So in the last video, we spoke about persistence being a state of mind, and we listed out 8 definite causes to know that you are being persistent. And so I want you to determine for yourself how well you're doing. Just rate yourself in a non-judgmental way. Determine for yourself what you're lacking in persistence. How can you improve? How do you measure against these 8 points? The 8 points we mentioned was definiteness of purpose, desire, self-reliance, definiteness of plans, accurate knowledge, making sure your plans are sound, cooperation, getting the sympathy, understanding, and working in harmony with others, willpower, and of course, habit. So we're continuing today, and the three main points that I want to get into today are first the symptoms, and that's found for me on page 238, the symptoms of lack of persistence. The second is the fear of criticism, and the third point is how to develop persistence. So those are our 3 main points that we're going to get into today. Okay, so symptoms. How do you know that you lack persistence? How do you know, as Napoleon says here, how will you find the real enemies that stand between you and your noteworthy achievement? How do you know what are the enemies that stand between you and your desire, the thing that you want, your goal? He advises us to study this list carefully and to measure ourselves against it. So you see, it really does demand and dictate that we are not just reading, but we're also measuring as we go along, and that we're taking action. Very key. If we don't take action and if we're not honest with ourselves, then we will just continue living how we're living. And nothing is wrong with that, but that's not who we are and how we were meant to be. We were meant to grow. We were meant to achieve and improve our lives. Okay, so let's get into the symptoms. There are 16 of them, so I will just run through. Failure to recognize what you want. That's number 1. Procrastination. Lack of interest. Indecision, because not making a decision is still making a decision. So even though it's indecision, and we spoke about that in chapter 8. Relying upon alibis. So instead of creating definite plans for solutions to your problems, you make excuses. Self-satisfaction. And I think I would advise that you read through these for yourself. It's on page 238 to 239 in my book. So relying upon alibis, number 5. Number 6, self-satisfaction. Number 7, indifference. So rather than meet upon opposition and fighting it, you're like, yeah, what's the sense? It doesn't matter. And I think persons do this as a self-defense mechanism. And they think that when they say to someone else, they think that it makes them feel good, or they're trying to defend themselves with someone else. But at the end of the day, you're the one who will have to live with yourself, knowing if you have, at the end of your days, if you've really lived the life how you wanted to live. Okay, let's move on. Number 8, blaming others for your mistakes. So a habit of blaming others. Number 9, weakness of desire, sorry. So your desire isn't a burning one. So it's easy to flip-flop, as we would say, easy to change your mind. Willingness to quit at the first sign of defeat. Number 11, lack of organized plans. Lack of organized plans. Number 12, habit of neglecting to move on to ideas or to grasp opportunities when it presents itself. 13, wishing instead of willing. 14, the habit of compromising with poverty instead of aiming for riches. And I don't remember if it was Napoleon who said it, but Bob always said this, like, there is no greater effort that is expected of us to go for riches than to settle for poverty. So you might think, okay, I'm okay being poor, I'm okay with having less, but the same effort that you're using to settle for less is the same effort that is required to go after what you want. Think on that. That's really, really deep. Where are we? Okay, number 15, searching for all the shortcuts to riches, trying to get by gambling or drive sharp bargains. And the last one is fear of criticism, which we are also going to move into now. So the second point that I want to mention in this section is fear of criticism. And Napoleon says fear of criticism, failure to create your plans, to put them into action because of what other people think, do, or say. And this actually belongs, he says, at the top of the list. And it is also one of the 6 basic fears. So fear of criticism, what is it? And so what it is that majority of persons, they permit their relatives, they permit their friends, they permit the public, they permit others to dictate what they do, what they don't do, and how they live their lives. And as a result, it influences their decisions and lack of decisions. It influences their decisions. It also causes them a lot to procrastinate. So you can't live your life if you allow other people to tell you how to live. That means, what's the purpose of living? Might as well just turn over your life to that person. And some areas that people fail to live their lives in, and because of fear of criticism, Napoleon lists them out here: marriage, education, so the education that you choose, the chances that you take in business, whether you set a high goal or not. So setting high goals. And I know especially setting high goals, because sometimes when I talk to clients, they're afraid to set high goals because they're always thinking what their spouse is going to say, or what their mother or sister or someone else is going to say. They're going to laugh at them. Like, who are you to be thinking that way? Who are you to be dreaming that big? But whose life is it? Like, we're each given one life as far as we know. And if you allow others to live your life for you, that would be really sad, very, very sad. And so when you allow other people to make decisions and allow yourself to have a fear of criticism because of what they might say, you know what happened? You settle. You don't go after the thing that you want, and your self-talk and how you put yourself down is really strong. And it also causes unhappiness. So might as well just live your life. And Napoleon also speaks about, okay, we're gonna get into that a little bit. So the fear of criticism, he says, is at the bottom of the destruction of most ideas, and they never reach the planning or action stage. Okay, the last point, how to develop persistence. So there are 4 simple steps in developing persistence, or the habit of persistence. Number 1, a definite purpose backed by a burning desire. Number 2, a definite plan. Number 3, a mind closed tightly against all negative and discouraging influences, including negative suggestions of relatives, friends, and acquaintances. And the 4th, a friendly alliance with one or more persons who are in harmony and sympathy with your purpose. And the 4 steps, he says, are essential for success in all walks of life. The entire purpose of the 13 principles of this philosophy is to enable one to take these 4 steps as a matter of habit. Okay, I think it's really important to develop persistence, and we really need to look at this. But before we summarize, let's get into our 3 stories. So the 3 stories that I want to mention briefly, the story of W.C. Fields. W.C. Fields, he was a comedian. He was broke. He had no income. He had no job. He was also past the age of 60, where, many persons would consider him very old or consider themselves old. He also ended up suffering a physical injury. And this would have been where many would have given up and quit, but he didn't. He was persistent. And he was able to achieve one of his burning desires. And I looked him up. And wanted to point out, yeah, so he did pretty well for himself. He didn't really live that long. He lived until the age of 66. I thought he lived longer, but at least he died happy. I hope. Okay, so the next person is Marie Dressler. And Marie Dressler, she was about 60 years old. And because she was persistent, she brought about an astounding triumph late in life, beyond the age when most men and women are done with the ambition to achieve. So that's to show you that regardless of your age, if you want to achieve something, don't let it stop you. Don't let the criticism of others stop you. The last person is Eddie Cantor. And Eddie Cantor, he lost his money in the 1929 stock crash. So this was when the Great Depression started. It was a very difficult time for basically everyone. But what did he do? He was able to persist. He persisted, and he was able to get himself back into an income of $10,000 a week. So even by today's standards, that's pretty good. So what Napoleon is saying here with these 3 stories is that, sometimes many people believe that persons who achieve, they came about it because of a favorable break and that it was luck. But luck in and of itself does not bring about success. There are other factors that we don't see unless, we probably wouldn't know unless we ask the person. There is persistence there. There's courage. There are a few of these 13 principles that will cause them to rise above their circumstances. And so in closing of our video today, there are 2 other stories in this book, beginning on page 234 and ending on 251. And if you want, you can go ahead and read them. They're very fascinating. One of them is a story of Mrs. Wallace Simpson and her love and her relationship and marriage to the Prince of Wales. Very interesting story. And the second one has to do with the Prophet Muhammad. So really, really fascinating. And how they persisted. So if you want to read these, you can go ahead and read them. I want to just wrap up this chapter by reminding you that lack of persistence is one of the major causes of failure. Lack of persistence is the reason why a lot of persons don't achieve their goals. You shouldn't let that be you. Most persons will give up at the first sign of failure. They will fail to persist. They will fail to get the help that they want. Talk to the mentor or the coach that can help them, form the mastermind group that can get them over the hump. But I want to encourage you to not let that be you. And I've placed also a little exercise, a little activity that you can do just to determine how persistent you are towards your goal, towards the burning desire, towards the thing that you are meant to do, your purpose in this life. So I hope that helps. It's like a rating system that you by yourself can do. And whether it's in that job, whether it's going after the next position or starting that business and going after it, whatever it is that you want in life, don't let anyone stop you. Don't let the fear of criticism stop you from going after the thing that you want. You yourself know, like deep within, the reason why you want this thing more than anything else. And because it's within you, no one else would understand it, but you understand. And you should definitely achieve what you want. That's it for me. I will see you in my next video. Thank you so much for listening, and I wish you an amazing day. Take care.